When you think about building something that lasts, what comes to mind? Bricks? Steel? Well, what if the most important materials aren't physical at all? What if they're rules? Today, we're going to deconstruct the blueprint of an organization. We're going to peek behind the curtain and see the invisible architecture that really holds everything together.
Seriously, just think about it for a second. What holds any group together? I mean, a sports team, a giant company, heck, even a whole country. They all have something in common, some kind of shared foundation. So what is that secret ingredient?
Well, a lot of the time, the answer looks something like this. And no, this isn't just some random piece of paper. This is the official rulebook for a real organization. You can almost think of it like the source code for their community, right? It's literally the set of instructions that defines how everything is supposed to work.
So, that's exactly what we're going to do. Our mission, if you will, is to decode this blueprint. We're going to dig in and see how these words on a page can actually create a structure, define a purpose, and build a living, breathing community basically from scratch.
All right, so first things first. Before you can even think about members or leaders or anything like that, you need a core identity. You need a foundation to build on.
And right at the beginning, in the very first articles, this document does something that sounds incredibly simple, but is absolutely essential. It declares the organization's formal name and just states that it exists. I know, it sounds basic, but this is the moment of creation. It's the legal and symbolic birth of the entire group.
Okay, so it exists, but why? This next part gets right to the heart of that question. Chapter 1 here lays out the group's objectives. See, it's not enough to just exist. This section spells out what they're actually trying to do, what they want to achieve. It's basically their mission statement, spelled out for everyone to see.
So, we've got the why, right? Now let's talk about the who. Because, let's be honest, an organization is absolutely nothing without its members. So this next part of the blueprint is all about defining who gets to be part of this community.
And the blueprint gets really specific here. It spells out the exact criteria for joining. Things like age might be a factor, but here's the real kicker. You have to be willing to follow the rules, the very rules we're looking at right now. You've got to buy into the system to be a part of it. Simple as that.
And it's not a one-way deal. Not at all. You can think of membership as a kind of social contract, a two-way street. On one hand, you get rights, the right to vote, to be elected, to get support. But on the other hand, you've got duties. You have to pay your fees, show up to meetings, and, this is the big one, you have to uphold the very bylaws that give you those rights in the first place. It's a balance.
A really well-thought-out system doesn't just plan for beginnings, it plans for endings too. And these bylaws do just that. They clearly define how and why someone's membership could be terminated. And this isn't about being mean or punitive, it's about having a fair and transparent process so everyone knows where they stand.
Okay, so we've got a purpose, and we've got members. But how does anything actually get done? Who makes the decisions? Well, that brings us to what I like to call the engine room, the governing bodies.
See, power in this organization isn't just floating around in the air. It's structured, it's organized. The document sets up a really clear hierarchy. You've got the General Assembly, that's the big one. Then there's an executive committee to handle the day-to-day stuff, and an audit committee to, make sure everyone's playing by the rules.
But let's be crystal clear about one thing. The General Assembly is the supreme authority here. It's the top of the pyramid. The best way to think about it is like a parliament or maybe a big town hall meeting for all the members. This is where the buck stops. It's where the ultimate power of the organization really lives. And when we say power, we're not talking about some vague, fuzzy concept. The document spells out their authority in black and white. The General Assembly can elect the leaders, they approve the budgets, they can even change the rules themselves. They literally hold all the cards.
So it's great to have supreme authority, right? But how do you actually use it? Well, the answer is all about process. It all comes down to meetings. That's the arena where ideas are debated, votes are cast, and decisions are actually made.
And, no surprise here, there's a clear democratic process for this too. You can't just call a meeting by sending a quick text message. Nope. You have to set an official agenda. You have to give every member at least 15 days notice so people have time to prepare. And, this is so important, you need a quorum. That means more than half the members have to physically be there for any vote to even count. No quorum, no decisions.
And here's a really cool, crucial final step. A decision isn't final after just a conversation or a show of hands. It has to be formalized. You can see here that decisions are recorded and then stamped with an official seal.
It's that little act that transforms a discussion into a binding rule that everyone has to follow. It's what makes it real.
Okay, so this system works great, but what happens when things change? The world isn't static, right? What if the organization itself needs to evolve? Well, any good blueprint has to be adaptable. It has to be built for the future.
And this, right here, is the sign of a really smart system. A great blueprint doesn't just tell you how to build the house, it also gives you instructions on how to add a new room or renovate the kitchen down the line. It plans for change.
But listen, changing the core rules of the game shouldn't be easy. And here, it isn't. And that's on purpose. To amend these bylaws, you need a 2/3 supermajority vote from the General Assembly. That is a very high bar to clear. And it's there to stop people from making rash decisions and to make sure that any big change has massive support from the members.
I mean, this document is incredibly thorough. It covers the organization's entire life cycle, from its birth all the way to its potential end. It even has a section outlining exactly how the group can be dissolved if it's ever no longer needed. It's a complete plan, literally from start to finish.
So there you have it. We've taken apart the blueprint, we've seen how a bunch of rules can create structure, define a purpose, and manage power. But here's the thing. A rulebook is just that. It's words on a page. It's only a starting point. It takes actual people, members who believe in the mission, leaders who enforce the rules fairly, to turn that ink into a real, thriving community. So the real question I'll leave you with is, what's that spark? What's that human element that truly brings a blueprint like this to life?